It doesn't get much more special than opening the USA show with a Pete Hegarty back half next to a back barefoot line in his first show back since his injury last August.
Goosebumps. That's it. Goosebumps.
It's showtime. This is The Ski Show, the ultimate show ski podcast, and your one and only source for all things show skiing, bringing you news, knowledge, and interviews with the legends and stars of our sport. Here are your hosts, Matt Heilman and Adam Schaller.
Welcome to the Ski Show, back from a thrilling World Show Ski Tournament in Mulwala, Australia, and today with a very, very special episode. For the first time publicly, Pete Hegarty is going to share all about his injury, his journey, and his epic comeback for Team USA at the World Tournament.
Today's sponsors are the Board Shop. All your summer and winter board sports gear is yours at bswake.com. The Paul Stokes Agency at American Family Insurance. Let Paul be your insurance agent. And as always, Flyman Skis, custom-made jump skis and featherboard swivel skis at affordable prices. You can get yours at flymanskis.com.
Yeah, let's chat about Flyman for a minute, Adam. Well, Nick and Jack weren't at the World Tournament themselves. Their presence was certainly felt. Flyman Skis were all over the place at individual and team events. They were on the ramp for the first ever 4-girls front flipping competition. They were strapped to the feet of Sarah Fedorowicz as she won the first ever women's freestyle jump competition at Worlds, and she completed the first ever one ski gainer by a female in world competition. Amazing stuff.
I just got goosebumps again. Yeah, that's right. As you know, these skis are made for skiers by skiers, and they are fully customizable and affordable. Their honeycomb jump skis come in all sizes and colors, and their featherboard swivel skis are ridden by some of the best in the world, including 2 of the star swivelers in the Team USA's highest scoring swivel act.
That's right. Get your Flyman skis today at flymanskis.com. That's flymanskis.com. All right, let's chat a little bit about Worlds. Adam, from your perspective, how was your experience in Australia, Worlds and travel and all the things?
First off, it's a really long flight to get there. But even though the flight was a little bit shorter in time on the way back, it seemed like it was twice as long. Once we were there, man, Australia, what a great country. Everybody's very, very nice. Man, the first couple of days we were there was extremely hot. Like, holy smokes, open the oven hot. And what's crazy about this is, like, it hadn't rained for like 3 months in Mulwala, right? And then our final run through, it poured all day, all day, literally,
like final dress rehearsal.
Yeah, beyond the heat and the rain, though, man, Team USA it was so much fun. It was just go all the time, spending 16 hours out of 24 hours every day with 40 awesome people doing what we love, and it was awesome. It was just totally awesome. I was so excited that we were able to, on Sunday, really step it up after Australia just absolutely crushed their show on Sunday. They had a good show on Saturday, but they came out guns blazing on Sunday and skied amazing. And I think all they ended up doing was poking the bear, and Team USA being the bear, and those skiers responded and put on a heck of a show.
Yeah, Australia skied about as perfectly as you could expect them on Sunday, and we rose to the challenge. We had an interesting mix on the team this year. We had a mix of veterans and a lot of young talent as well. Some first-time talent on the world stage, and getting that show to click takes longer coming off of winter for us.
Yeah,
actually,
for sure.
You mentioned the go. It was the busiest Worlds week we've ever had from that standpoint. And part of that is because the skiing took longer to click than it does when the Worlds is in our hemisphere. And so super proud of the team. We bounced back and skied an awesome Sunday show. We swept all of the traditional box scores. We won the tournament, and it was fun. It was great stuff. Show Ski Australia is improving. Everyone can see that, and that's making us better as well. And so that's fun. Worlds Week was a blast. It was the hosts were phenomenal. Kudos to Team Australia and the job they all did in hosting, and Pete O'Neill. They rolled out the red carpet. It was a great facility for shows and practice. The social events were top-notch. Really enjoyed this Worlds Week as much as any. And our team, every Team USA is unique, and this one is fun because I felt like the team spirit within the team was pretty special. Like, there's some that bond and have super cool chemistry. This, I felt like there were moments where, like, big brother would help little brother, and big sisters would wrap their arms around little sister, and they were cheering each other on and fans of each other through the whole week. And that spirit really thrived through this team. And so kudos to all the members of this team, because it sure was a special event.
Yeah, for sure. It was awesome.
There's more show ski news in the world going on, Adam. Is this next week, in about 10 days from now, the All-American tournament is happening in Florida. Like, the season is here. The 2025 season is here. We had Worlds, and now the first tournament in the States is happening, the All-American tournament. Friday evening opens with Freestyle Jump. There's 14 competitors, some awesome names in that, and young talent that's on the rise in that freestyle comp. Is going to be so fun. Saturday kicks off with swivel and swivel pairs. There's doubles. There's a novice freestyle jump, team jump. They always do a specialty act competition, so you can enter one act into this contest. And then they wrap up with a barefoot endurance. So it's going to be in Winter Haven, Florida, the All-American tournament this weekend. I can't wait for the results. We'll recap some of the results in our next episode.
Yeah, holy smokes. I mean, just a whirlwind with, Think Tank and then right into Worlds, and now we're back, and it's go time. I mean, Matt, I know we preach all about how much teams need to, really get ready in the winter, and now I feel like I'm behind the 8 ball, and because it's April, and it's, up here in Wisconsin, we start our shows in less than 2 months.
Jeez. We have work to do.
Do you hear that, Matt? Show director, Mad City? Less than 2 months. So here we go.
Have to take off my Team USA hat and put on my Mad City hat. Yep. It's time. It's go time. Well, Adam, today, because we've got a lengthy interview with Pete lined up, we're going to skip today's hot takes, but think of yours for next time. Next episode, we'll get back on the hot takes. However, we're not going to skip talking about Paul Stokes and his American Family Insurance Agency. First of all, previously, we've mentioned that he's giving away free barefoot clinics that he's doing, and he has some winners. Badgerland and Granite City show teams have won the 2 free team clinics. Congrats to you guys. And Annie Gallagher, Brooklyn Wendricks, Heidi Forbes, Rafe Gross, and Scott Borkovets won the individual barefoot clinics. They're going to be attending the free barefoot clinic hosted by Paul.
Fantastic. Brooklyn is a Mad City member, so we'll be expecting great things from you this summer, Brooklyn. Paul is a great supporter of water skiing. He's also a great insurance agent. For each person that goes through his Get Stoked quoting process, your team will get $30. That's it. It's that simple. Get a quote, get the money. The Paul Stokes Agency at American Family is giving back at no obligation. Contact him today to get a quote for your insurance needs. Get stoked and stay stoked with Paul Stokes at American Family Insurance.
Okay, time for our featured interview. You all know that Pete Hegarty suffered a brutal accident while freestyle jumping at Division I Nationals last summer. Today he is here to talk to us all about it, about his journey, his recovery, and his comeback on the world stage. Here he is now. Let's welcome to the show, Pete Hegarty. Hey, Pete.
How's it going, guys?
Going good, buddy. How you doing?
Good.
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Well, first things first, Pete. You're just in Australia. You're back. Did you guys do anything after the tournament?
Yeah, we did a little traveling. Went to the Gold Coast, stayed in Surfers Paradise, and really spent 3 days there. So that was a blast. Got to go to SeaWorld, see the ski show, do a little bit of hiking, did some surfing. Not really surfing, we're just kind of getting tumbled around by the waves. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Very cool. Now, was Surfers Paradise open? You were able to go in the water? Because we went to Gold Coast a couple days ago, and they closed the beach because of sewage overflow into the water. Because
it was Poopy Beach.
Yeah,
we were at Burley Beach.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was all open when we were there. We didn't surf in Burley, but we were at the Burley Pavilion and watched some surfing, and then we surfed up in Surfers Paradise. But yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, good stuff. Glad everybody's home, enjoyed their travels. Worlds was awesome. We're going to get to that with you, but we're really here today to talk about your journey from your injury back to health and back to being on the water on the world stage at the World Tournament. It's quite remarkable, and I know our audience is going to love hearing from you about the entire path and the entire comeback. So let's start here. Take us back to August 9th, 2024, Division I Nationals, Warsaw, Indiana. Describe for us what happened, your accident from your perspective.
Yeah, so, freestyle jump, individual jump. I remember my first two jumps, back half, front half, both went decent. I wasn't typically pleased with my landing on my back half. So after those two jumps, I'm in the boat. I'm watching Cale Duquesne on his last jump. And, I kind of did some calculations of how I should play my last jump. I scored myself low. I scored Cale high and everything, and Cale would have been beating me based on those calculations. So with that, I was like, okay, I really should do one more back half, maybe try to get to the ball or at least close to it and have a better landing, score, even half a point higher in the judges' eyes. So that was my goal going into the last jump. Obviously, the last jump didn't go well, but my memory kind of ends getting off the platform right before my last jump.
So you have no memory of the accident itself, and how? So at what point does your memory pick back up, Pete?
Yeah, so memory stops, like I said, as soon as I got off the platform, and I don't have any memory really until 10 days post-accident.
Wow.
That's a long time. That's a long time to have. Now, is that a good thing? Like, have you watched video of this? Do you know what happened?
I do, yeah. I've watched the video probably about 100 times at this point.
Wow.
But I truly feel lucky that I don't remember it because I don't have any crazy post-traumatic stress or like those really bad feelings as I'm cutting into the ramp. It's crossed my mind a couple times as I'm coming across the wakes, but I'm able to tuck it away pretty easily, I think, because I don't remember it. So a bit of a blessing in disguise, if you will.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Sure.
It's an interesting perspective what the brain does, right? So like you have no memory of that. So now in recovery back on the water, you don't have the same sort of, maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. Some might say it's a bad thing. You don't have the fear that was associated with those types of high risk maneuvers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like, guys that go out and tear their ACL on something, it's like that's going through their mind every time they hit the ramp for the next couple months. Mm-hmm. Once they get back on the water, where me, it's just kind of like, oh, I don't remember it.
Wow.
But
so I mean, we all know this, and I'm sure people have told you this, and you don't remember it, but you were transported by helicopter immediately following your accident. How long were you in the hospital, and when did they release you?
I was in the hospital in Indiana for 2 weeks after my accident. I was then, so my mom flew out to Indiana, and my mom and Darian spent those 2 weeks with me in the hospital. At the 2 week point, they rented a car and they drove me home to Maine. Once we got back to Maine, I was checked into a rehabilitation hospital where I spent another week, a full week there, just working through, different exercises and whatnot.
No, I'm assuming you rented a car to drive back to Maine because they wouldn't let you fly. Is that correct?
I wish I had the answer for you. I think it was a concern of if something were to come up mid-flight, then
sure,
that's a lot harder to get to a hospital there than just being in the car.
Right.
So
what was the, coming out of that hospital stay and then being able to get home, at that point, what was the kind of official diagnosis of your injuries, post-accident?
Yeah, let me pull it up just because I don't want to say something wrong here.
That's all right.
So the official injuries were a 3.5 centimeter brain bleed and axonal shearing throughout my brain, a T1 transverse process spinal fracture, and a grade 3 AC joint separation in my left shoulder.
That doesn't sound good.
No.
We don't know what all those things mean. Adam and I are not in the medical field, but it sounds like a lot.
It was, yeah. The couple doctors that I would see, especially in the rehabilitation facility, the 2 weeks after the injury, I'd meet with them, and a lot of that stay at the rehab place was learning to walk again, learning to shower by myself, stuff like that. And every time I'd meet with a new doctor, they'd kind of look over my paperwork quick and be like, "Oh, wait, this happened 2 weeks ago?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Holy cow, like the fact that you're here walking, eating on your own is incredible." So
that diagnosis would clue many in to say this is tragically serious. And I think I remember maybe talking to Darian, somebody that talked about the type of brain injury it was. It wasn't as much of a blunt force. It was more of a twisting of the brain. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah. And I think that's what really influences the axonal shearing, which is not good at all,
right.
For the brain and whatnot. But because I've learned this just through research post-accident, is almost every head injury these days is not just a blunt impact, right? It's not like something's getting dropped on you and just falling straight down. A lot of times you're falling, and as you fall, your head's rotating and moving, and that's how you get, really the worser concussions.
Interesting. And we think of, all of us watch a lot of sports and see other athletes, and like we think of Tua Tagovailoa, people like that have had bad head injuries and terrible concussions. Did they compare? Is there any comparison of yours to some other top athletes that have had head injuries, or is this a type of accident that happens in other certain sports?
Sure, I don't. Accidents happen in other sports. I'm not really sure, but my doctors were my neurologist was very clear to be like, every head injury is different. Every brain injury is different. He's like, I can't compare you to Tua. I can't compare you to, Muhammad Ali or some, boxer. It's like every impact is different. And even if someone had the exact same accident I had, it could be a very different injury. And their brain could react totally differently. So, hard to compare it to others for sure.
Pete, when did you realize, I know you don't remember 10 days after the accident, but when did you realize like holy smokes, what, this is serious? Because I'm trying to put myself in your shoes, and Darian and your mom are there, and they've been talking to the doctors, this 10-day period that you don't remember. Was it kind of through them that you realized this is super serious, or was it through the doctors? At what point were you just like, wow,
Sure.
What happened to me?
Yeah, I think it kind of took a little while. And the injury itself kind of numbed my emotion. There was no waking up in tears in the bed, I can't believe this happened to me. It's just kind of wake up oh, wow, I can't believe that happened. And then, probably asked it again 5 more times within the next hour. But I think I remember laying in bed, probably on day, 11 or 12, once my memory kind of started kicking in. And I wanted to get up to go to the bathroom, and my right leg just wouldn't work. I'd stare at my leg and, come on, move. Just let's get up and go to the bathroom, and it wouldn't work. So I think at that point it kind of clicked, okay, this is really bad, but it truly hit me months later. It was in, I think, January. I was driving home one night from work. It was kind of late. I was listening to a podcast about traumatic brain injuries, and it was talking about a 24-year-old girl, or they were talking to a 24-year-old girl who got in a really bad car accident when she was 18, and they didn't talk about the size of her brain bleed or anything, but TBI, it's really bad. And so the host of the podcast is introducing this young girl, and then they're like, all right, now say hello to our guest, and they bring her on, and just her verbiage, her language was not well spoken, and just you could tell that it was a traumatic brain injury for sure. And listening to that I was driving home again, and this is in February, or in January, so 5 months post accident, and I was driving, and I started crying by myself on the highway, because I couldn't believe how lucky I truly was to be where I am, where this girl is now 6 years post her injury, and she really can't communicate correctly. So that was I'd say that's when it really hit me, wow, you're really lucky to be where you're at today.
Yeah. Was there ever a point, Pete, that you think you wouldn't be able to water ski again?
I wouldn't say 100%, but when I couldn't walk, it was what can I, am I going to be able to do anything again? Am I going to be able to walk again? Am I going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life? I'm not really sure. And the doctor's like, no, you'll get better. But, after 4 days of looking at your leg and it doesn't move, no matter how much you tell it to move, it was definitely tough to overcome that.
Was that a paralysis, or was that a motor issue based on brain function?
It was an issue with the brain being able to send the signals to my leg, because it was a left side of my head brain injury, and with the axonal shearing, some of the nerves, I want to say this correctly, I apologize, I don't know, I'm not a brain surgeon or anything by any means. The nerves, whatever sends the signal, I think
They're
it's
the synapses?
Correct. Basically, those were cut off in my injury. So the brain had to find different ways to get the signals to my leg and to my arm and my hand.
Had to take a detour. The road was closed.
Yeah, correct. So I kind of had to. Yeah. Well, the way that the doctors described it is it can now, the brain has a couple extra here and there. So it was able to steal a couple from other areas that weren't needed, and send the signals that way. So yeah.
Interesting. The body's fascinating. As you embarked on your recovery, now let's get into that phase. Let's first talk about, let's really talk about both, because maybe they're together. The physical recovery and the mental recovery. And I know with a traumatic brain injury, those are kind of two in one, though the mental side has its specific specificities to your injury. Mm-hmm. Describe first the physical challenges. You mentioned the leg. What were some of the other things in the recovery process in terms of the physical?
Yeah, mainly the leg, which that encompassed with it balancing, just being able to stand there and whatnot. For a lot of those first couple weeks, I guess, or during that week number 3, week number 4, post injury, just when I'm standing talking to you, I couldn't really stand in one spot. I was kind of at all times just slightly maneuvering my left leg one way or the other, or my right leg if I could, to be able to balance. That and my right arm, my right hand were the biggest things. My hand, my fingers didn't work real well. If we were driving down the road and I went to reach into the cup holder to get some change for the toll booth or something like that, my hand would just it would just kind of clump up, and I didn't have any fine motor skills to just grab. It was just my hand would just kind of freeze up. So that was pretty tough. But I'd say that was kind of the major physical things that I had to work on in my recovery.
And I remember you chatting with us about that when we saw you at Bria and Eric's wedding. That was kind of your first kind of public, social engagement with a larger group of show skiers that were present during your injury and had seen you for the first time. And I remember you chatting through those exact things. And I'm sure at that time those were still physical hurdles you were dealing with that you were going to be working on for months, correct?
Yeah, definitely. It took a long time, and I got really lucky. Obviously, like I went to the rehab hospital and had all these doctors give me things to work on once I was released. But we had a couple different, physical therapists that are on our ski team, and in my family. So they're sending me, hey, try this exercise, work on this and whatnot. So all those things were really good and helped me get through it.
Talk a little bit about the mental side of rehab. You're doing obviously physical therapy, but what was some of the mental hurdles that you had as you were going through this recovery rehab process?
Yeah, the biggest mental roadblock for me was short-term memory, and the thing that comes to mind first was there's this one night, getting ready for bed, whatever. I go and brush my teeth, come back into the bedroom, I lay down, I scroll on my phone for 5 minutes, and then I stand up, I get out of bed, and Darian's like, where are you going? I was like, I'm gonna go brush my teeth. She goes, oh, what'd you do? Did you go to the bathroom already tonight? I was like, yeah, I did. She goes, okay. What'd you do while you were in there? I was like, well, I went to the bathroom, then, oh, yeah, I brushed my teeth. So I struggled pretty hard with that, and Darian was great with kind of making everything a learning experience, really slow, really patient with me, getting back to where I needed to be. But that was really tough for the mental side of things. I did a lot of speech therapy, which is the mental side of things. So they worked on regaining my memory and stuff like that, and ways to associate certain things to remember with to get back to it per se. It's not a bad thing to write things down. Have a little notebook with you and jot things down if you think you're not going to remember it later. Stuff like that. And I'd say that was kind of the biggest things for the mental side of things.
Are you still having physical or mental challenges at this point of your recovery?
Yes, not serious, but yes. Physically, my right quad still, it kind of shudders when it needs to engage, most specifically when I'm walking downhill or downstairs. Walking around, I don't see it, I don't feel it. But if I physically look at my leg while I'm walking downstairs, every time my right foot hits the ground, my whole quad shudders for a second before it really engages. And I don't feel like it's a disability by any means. I for skiing, I didn't notice it, and maybe it does affect me a little bit, and I just don't notice it. But I'd say that's the biggest thing on the physical side of things. Mentally, if I'm in a conversation, I'm getting excited, I'm kind of starting to speed up my tone or my whatever. I'll kind of take 3 words or 4 words and I'll just mush them into one. And I kind of say it all really fast, and whoever I'm talking to, huh, what? And I'm like, okay, slow down, Pete. And then have to go back, go through it slowly. So yeah, those are the challenges that I kind of still face, but I guess pretty minor per se.
What did rehab and recovery look like for you, let's say, from when you got home to Winter Haven through even, through when you were basically released to start skiing again? We're going to get into the skiing stuff a little bit, but was there a daily, a weekly, a routine, physical therapist, speech therapist? What did that transition and process of recovery look like for you?
All of my time with specific therapists was pretty much over when I left Maine and came back south. But Gabby Tash actually was super nice and helpful for me, and she sent me a whole list of workouts and things to do to kind of re-engage my my right side and my quad, hamstring, calf, and whatnot to get back to strength. So I probably worked out. I should have been working out 5-6 days a week. More so, really only worked out 3 days a week. That was kind of the gist of my working out and therapies. But yeah, I guess 3 days a week. And then once I was able to get back to working a job, that was kind of just like a therapy in itself, just being on my feet all day, every day and whatnot.
Talked about, obviously, Darian being key in regards to being very patient with you and helping you with kind of the mental and memory side of things, and Gabby Tash sending you workouts and things to do. Were there other people that were instrumental in your recovery process?
Oh, totally. Just I'd say the entire water ski world, so many close friends and whatnot. I had hundreds of people reach out, obviously initially, but throughout all those months, just, hey man, how you doing? Hope you're doing great. Specifically, my mom and dad, we were staying with them all summer, kind of in the guest suite. So they were nice enough to be like, after my injury, Darian, don't go to work anymore. Just take care of him, hang out with him all day. So that was awesome. And parents were always there for me. My sister-in-law, Victoria, and my sister, Katie, they're both work in the medical field, so they were there with any questions I had to answer and whatnot. So, yeah, tons of people to be thankful for.
Absolutely, that's a blessing. I think about your recovery and watching your journey and thinking about you in terms of being such an elite athlete. Like you were the top of the sport, and looking at other sports of athletes who recover from injuries, Kobe Bryant, Tiger Woods, that battle back, and knowing the mentality of an elite athlete like you were a multi-sport star in high school and being at the top of your game show skiing, was it hard for you? Did you have to be more patient in your recovery than you would have liked? Like you were like, I need to get back at this. I want to be back at this. I'm an elite athlete. I want to be ready for Worlds. Like were all those things going through your mind? And did you or did somebody else have to reel you in a little bit? Was that hard for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I am not a patient human being by any means. So I really, really had to work on my patience throughout this whole recovery process. And, meeting with different doctors, and every time it's like, I know you feel really good, but you're really not quite where you need to be yet to be back on the water. So those little reminders were they weren't great, but I needed them. And just, Darian being by my side the whole time and reminding, hey, don't go too crazy, don't go do that, don't go do this. And, it's like, Mom, okay, I get it. But I totally understand how important it was. But yeah, so those were all really big, and to get me back to where I am. Yeah.
Yeah. Adam, we're going to give Pete a little break to take a deep breath here. We want to chat about the board shop. Elite athletes like Pete can get all their summer and winter sports gear at the board shop.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's April, and the board shop is fully stocked for this summer season. I can't believe we're talking about summer. This is fantastic. They've got boards, bindings, vests, skis, apparel, and basically everything else. They've got it all. And if you want some awesome deals on winter gear, they've got that too.
That's right. The board shop is your one-stop shop for everything you need to enjoy outdoor sports year-round. Whether it's summer or winter, they've got you covered. Visit their shop in Lake Geneva or get all your gear online at bswake.com. You can use the promo code SHOW15 for a discount on your purchase. That's right. Go to bswake.com, promo code SHOW15. All right. So now things progress. You're rehabbing. You're struggling being patient. You want to get back on the water. What does that return to that first pull behind a boat look like? When did you set your sights on that? Did you have a goal on a date? Did you need to be cleared from a doctor? What did that look like?
So yeah, my first time back on the water was actually, it was much earlier than I should have, from where the doctors would have said. But I was still in Maine, and I took just literally a 2-ski ski run on, Cypress Gardens Dick Pope Juniors. Rode around the lake one time and came back in, and that was, I believe, I want to say that was 2 months post-accident. Was my first time back on the water. And it was really simple, but it was a blast and a lot of fun. And then I guess, further down the road, being patient, waiting for it. Once the doctor kind of gave me, I met with the neurologist down here in Tampa, who's actually, he works with the Buccaneers. So that was really awesome to work with him because he understands sports and athletics and how much, athletes want to get back on the field or on the water. So working with him was great. He's like, again, I know you feel great, but it's really important to give yourself this time to heal. So he's like, I'm okay with you going out to ski, but, don't flip things, don't go out and stuff like that. So he kind of gave me the okay to at least get into things lightly. So yeah, when I did my first ride over in December, later December, again, probably a little early, but that was incredible. So much fun to be back out there and whatnot.
And I'm assuming that was for you, right? To get out there and to tell yourself that you could still do it. Yes. And know that, 100%. Hey, right? I've got all of this. I've got this journey in front of me. I got something to look forward to, but it's just nice to have the water under your feet again, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Why don't you describe that to people? Like, what was it like? I mean, to be behind the boat for the first time after the accident. I mean, were you excited? Were you nervous? I mean, if we're just talking about the the 2-ski run in Maine, I'm sure you probably weren't too nervous about that. But or at least I hope you weren't. I mean, I would be, but you're probably not. What was that like?
Yeah, so the 2-ski run was just amazing because my whole family was in the boat and whatnot, so that was incredible. My first jump back was awesome. I had Caroline Grubbs and Evan Marcus in the boat, Darian in the boat, a lot of friends. I think Jordan Block and Emily Ward were here. So we're just hanging out, fun day on the water. So just very grateful to have those moments, and it was just it was so much fun. And I don't want to, I guess, downplay it. Like, the jump itself wasn't like, oh my god, I made it, because I was really I felt confident in myself to make that jump. I wouldn't have put myself out there if I was like, oh, my legs might give out. I had been working out enough where I was confident in my abilities. So it was a lot of fun, and I was so thankful to have that opportunity.
It was time, and you were ready, and your injury occurred in freestyle jumping, and so I imagine that return to the jump ramp was a bit of a hurdle, both mentally and physically. I mean, were you actually cleared to hit a ramp, or needed to be cleared? Because I remember talking with you. You mentioned the neurologist from Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What were the steps to allowing you, either yourself or with doctor's clearance, to start jumping and to start inverting? Because that's really the process you were working toward.
Yeah, the biggest thing with the inverts was time. My neurologist wanted me to wait the full 6 months post-injury. My first ride over was at like 4.5 months post-injury. So, he probably wouldn't have cleared me, but he said, clear for light duty. So for myself, a ride over at 24 miles per hour is pretty light duty. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of it, was meeting with him, getting the okay to ski lightly, and then just giving myself the time. A lot of water, a lot of sleep, fish oil, avocados, stuff like that to help the brain recover.
Well, I would imagine it helped to have a goal, right? I mean, you were named to the 2025 Team USA in Australia, and that was in March, and you were working towards that, right?
Absolutely. That was 110% my goal. The entire, like, from the day I woke up in the hospital, it was like, oh, we got Worlds in March. Like, I got to be ready for Worlds. And when I met with the neurologist in Florida for the first time, which was in, I believe, late November, I told him, I was like, hey, like, I have a really big, I have like the Olympics, like my tournament in March. I was like, that I really want to go compete at. Like, is that possible? And he was great about not turning it down, but he was very honest. He was like, I really have to wait until that 6-month point to see how you're doing, to see how you test, and then we can talk about you going to Worlds. So that was kind of the biggest thing about recovering, getting to Worlds. But yeah, having the goal of being able to ski at Worlds was the biggest thing for me to get back on the water. If the injury happened this summer and there wasn't Worlds for 3 years, I can't imagine I'd be back to where I am right now.
It's interesting. So you think the goal sped up your recovery process rather than, we talked earlier about your lack of patience. Would you have been more patient without that goal and slowed down your recovery? But you feel like it really aided in your recovery having your sights set on that.
Yeah, 100%. I think just naturally, a lot of us show skiers are, but I'm a very competitive person. I want to show off on the water. I want to ski well. I want to beat the guy I'm skiing next to. So that was a huge motivator to, like I said, eat well and drink a lot of water and get a lot of sleep at night and whatnot. So those kind of all moved me in the right direction.
So as you're jumping, you do that first ride over, you have your sights set on inverting. You want to start 2-ski flipping, 2-ski gainer, 1-ski flip, 1-ski gainer, up to hopping on the disco ski. You and I chatted about that progress you wanted to make on that. Did you have neurological testing prior to doing that? And then what was that like for you to start inverting?
Yeah, I did not have any. Yes, I had neurological testing prior to doing inverts. I had an electrode test, which they put a bunch of dots around your head and they send signals between them, and it kind of tells the doctor how my brain is able to transfer information through it. I had a cognitive test, and I had another MRI on my head.
Okay.
So those 3 tests were done prior to me inverting at all. And then, getting back on the water, like I told you, I wanted to get myself back to where I was in the correct way. I didn't want to be like, okay, first thing off the dock on the disco, that just doesn't make any sense. So I kind of went back to, if I was a student at a jump school, how would I coach myself? And it was 2-ski flips with, just ride over, no cut, anything, 2-ski flips. Once that's comfortable, okay, now LD 2-ski ride over. Okay, now gainer. Now 1-ski flip. Now 1-ski gainer. So work through that in a progression that I felt was healthy and safe. To get back to where I am.
Well, I would say all of this that we just talked about leads up to your comeback at the World Tournament. And I'll be very honest with you, Pete. After you suffered that type of injury and you were in a helicopter and a 2-week hospital stay, it was just always kind of like in the back of my mind, like, yeah, Pete's going to go with the team to Australia, but, how could he possibly ski? It's March, and this happened in August. But, here we are. But were there times in your recovery that you thought, like, hey, I'm not going to be ready to ski at the caliber that I want to be for Worlds?
Yeah. I would say, obviously, the biggest thing was right away when my leg wouldn't work. That was like, what, is it even possible for me to ski again? But once I was back on the water, I wouldn't say I had any terrible negative thoughts or that went through my head. There was a couple times that I was like, okay, if I'm not at this point by this time, then I need to let Matt and Dave know that they might need to think of other options. But I was able to keep accomplishing those goals as I set them and as I felt I needed to. to get myself ready for Worlds.
And I feel like we had some great dialogue kind of leading up to that process. We wanted you to be comfortable in your pace of recovery. We didn't want to put any pressure on you and what we were expecting you to do in the show. And I think we had some great dialogue leading up to that. As you're training for Worlds, did you have struggles, challenges, roadblocks that you faced as you eyed your return and what you thought and wanted to do at Worlds?
Yeah, I really wanted to be in the back barefoot line because I was not in the back barefoot line in 2022. So I really wanted to do that, but listening to the doctors and whatnot and heeding their words of advice, I chose to not even attempt to back barefoot. I still haven't barefooted once since my injury.
Because a back barefoot fall would be pretty bad on your brain at this point. I think
so. Yeah, it definitely would be. So I kind of shuffled that to the side and put really all my motivation into jumping and sky skiing and whatnot. But yeah.
Nice.
Well, let's talk about...
I don't know if I really answered that question. I kind of forget the end of it.
No, you answered it perfectly.
Okay.
Well, I mean, as it turned out, I think, right, you not back barefooting and what you actually ended up doing in the beginning of the show turned out to be pretty friggin' awesome, if you ask me. But talk us through Worlds Week, with the team and the individual training leading up to the event. How did that go for you? Like, we're now putting the show together. You're skiing with your teammates. I mean, how was that?
It was incredible. I think it went really well, and I am definitely blessed that I had the opportunity to train here in Florida before going over. And I felt like I was skiing a decent amount before we went over, but not enough. It was a lot of skiing over there, which I am totally okay with, and I needed it. The whole team needed it, so there's nothing wrong with that. But it was a lot of skiing, and it was great. But being with the team, having all that positive energy and the good camaraderie around was incredible.
Your first journey back into competition was in freestyle jump at individual competition at Worlds, and you landed a back half, you landed a front half. Absolutely amazing. Describe those jumps and what it was like for you to hit that ramp for the first time in competition since your injury.
It was awesome. I know I've said that to pretty much all the questions, but it really was incredible. The back half felt really good. I was happy with the landing, happy with everything. The front half, all week my front half was not going well, and that was the trick I've struggled on the most throughout my recovery. The whole week of practice leading up to the weekend, I was legitimately maybe 50% or less, 30 to 50% on my front halves. So the night before individuals, I watched front halves of myself for probably an hour, just laying in bed, watching front half, watching what's different. I had a recording from July of 2024, and I had some screen recordings of the week of practice, and I'm watching bit by bit by bit, and I have screenshots of different parts of the jump, like different jumps, but at the same part of the jump, and I'm trying to see what's different. And the more I watch, the more I'm like, okay, I think I got it figured out. I think I know what I'm doing wrong. So then come Friday, make my back half, feel good about it. Okay, on to the front half. And it wasn't big, it was small, not a good front half, but I made it. Yeah. And that was arguably one of the most exciting jumps I've ever made in my entire life. I like to always, be a showman and give the crowd like a woo or a yeah after I make a jump, but that one was just like a total flood of emotion, of excitement and adrenaline, and just I gave like 2 full breaths of yelling yeah on the water. Like normally it's just like a yeah or a woo, but it was like a full breath, re-inhale, full breath again. So that
I heard a fuck yeah in there from the water, by the way.
you may have. It was a bit of a blackout moment. I'm not sure exactly what I said, but yeah, it was a lot of excitement.
Well, I just got goosebumps hearing you tell that story, and holy cow, just hearing your process and for all of our listeners, like, this is what elite athletes do. They study their own film over and over and over to be great. And what a true testament to you. Another goosebump moment, and Adam alluded to it earlier, is that show opener. One of the most thrilling parts of Worlds, really for Dave and I, was to be able to put you out in that opener, knowing you weren't going to back barefoot, wanted to get you in that opener, and allowing you to make that statement to the world that you were back. And describe that feeling Saturday in particular as you made that back half alongside the back barefoot line, and then you come to the beach to a standing ovation.
Yeah. Well, first, thank you to you and Dave for writing me in there. But
that was a no-brainer, dude.
But an incredible feeling. Just to land the jump, right? I land, I look up, and the first thing I see is the twin rig and the back barefoot line coming right at me. And then just over them, the whole crowd is just, up, cheering, chanting. So that was amazing.
Like you told me, you had the best seat in the house for that opener.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It was the best. It was incredible. So, landed that, pay off for the crowd, come back around. I got to land. Adam pumped me up real hard for the crowd, which was incredible, which I couldn't hear that live, but rewatching the live stream was, really showed me how important that was. So to land, had a standing ovation with the Team USA crowd, and had to give them a little heart, but it was that was amazing. An incredible welcome back.
Yeah, there weren't a lot of dry eyes in the audience for that one.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. That was very cool. Describe the 2 days of shows for you personally. I mean, your first shows back from your injury. I mean, the Saturday show, and then for the first time I think in Team USA history, we scored better on Sunday than we did on Saturday. So I mean, it was 2 really awesome shows back to back.
Yeah, the 2 days of shows were incredible. I thought the team really brought it on Saturday. Like, skied well, skied awesome. A couple unfortunate falls, one being myself on a dang sky ski roll that I've made about 1 million times in my life. But yeah, an incredible day of shows. Everyone skied awesome. And great camaraderie. And then on Sunday, we're at the site, watched Team Australia absolutely kill it. And it was kind of like it wasn't really talked about, but like everyone kind of was like, okay, we have a job to do. Let's go do that job. Get to your position, make your act, and do it well. And obviously we did. So that was very exciting and awesome.
Was it fun for you to get back into show mode and to just get into a zone and do that show again?
Totally, yeah. It's like, like we've talked about, we all have trained years of our lives to be on Team USA, and then more specifically the last 2 years for this specific show, and then myself really, really hard the last 3 or 4 months on the water, to be here. So to get back into the show, and you have your act order, and you know what you got to do to succeed. It was incredible to be back out there.
As you look back on all of this, the injury, the recovery, the comeback at Worlds, how does it make you feel today to reflect back on this entire journey?
Really just thankful, I guess. Thankful for all those people that sent me messages, that donated to my recovery, all my doctors, my family that was by my side. Truly thankful for God for getting me back to where I am today, and watching over me, and just makes me feel like, yes, we can all be down at some point in our lives, but work hard, work through it, and there's a really good chance that you're able to get out of wherever you're at.
Pete, would you call yourself 100% back to full health?
Not 100%, no. I would say for everyday life, I'm at 99%. But yeah, the clustering of words together in a sentence is still tough and annoying, and every time it happens, I'm come on, slow down, just enunciate your words slowly. So that's been tough. And then the quad, still have that little bit of shiver whenever I step down. But nothing that you can't live a normal, healthy life with. So just got to keep, working hard and pursuing some of those things to speak more clearly and let the muscle engage.
I didn't prep you with this one, but thinking about it as we talk about it, are you at higher risk of concussion or brain injury going forward if you were to hit your head on the ramp again than somebody who hasn't suffered a concussion or a brain injury? And what is that like going forward for you?
Yeah, I haven't gotten like I said, and every brain injury is different, but as far as I know, and a doctor hasn't told me this, but as far as I know, I'm at a higher risk of another brain injury because of what I've experienced. So that does, affect the way I think about jumping and skiing. For example, I felt like I was pretty darn close to making front mobs throughout the spring of 2024. But now at this point in my life, I don't know if I'll ever try one of those again, which is really disappointing. But just kind of one of those things of is it worth it compared to being able to sit on a dock with my kids and fish one day,
I'm sure you've done a lot of research into helmet safety for jumping. What have you learned, and what's important for people to take away from that?
Yeah, incredibly important to have a good newer helmet. There's really two of the best helmets out there are MIPS technology and wave cell technology. I'm now wearing a wave cell helmet.
Is that in Trek brands?
Correct. Wave cell is made by Trek. It's under it's like Bontrager, I believe, is their more...
Their kind of accessory line.
Correct.
Bontrager.
Yep. But there's a couple, like Anon Snow Gear. They have Anon snowboard helmets and ski helmets that have wave cell in them. And then other than that, it's really all bicycle helmets. I've reached out to them about water helmets, and they said they're interested in making one. So hopefully somewhere here down the line we'll get a water-specific wave cell helmet. But for now, bike helmets are getting the job done.
So you're back on the water. In the time of your recovery process, Legoland closed, which was a total bummer. We've talked about that on this show. You're getting married. What does the future look like for Pete? What's life hold for you down the road here?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think kind of just like an average guy. I'm gonna work a normal job and marry the love of my life, and just kind of keep water skiing as much as I can. Not professionally, which is more than okay. I kind of retired from that anyway last year about this time. So yeah, I guess still skiing at as high of a level as I can, as safely as I can, and living the dream as a normal guy.
That's awesome.
Pete, anything you want to add, or anybody else you want to thank?
Just the whole water ski community again. Everyone was so kind and to donate and reach out, and a text, a Facebook message, whatever it was. I really read all of them. There's many that I didn't respond to throughout those first 2 weeks because I was unable, but I read them all. I feel them all. So thank you guys all so much.
Do you still have medical bills that you're strapped with from that?
Very thankfully, all of the donations were able to cover my 2-week hospital bill from Indiana. The hospital was nice and basically cut it in half because we're paying in cash.
Nice.
And then the only other bill I really still have is my helicopter bill. But you're able to pay that over time with no interest. So
okay. Do you still have a GoFundMe out there that we can have our listeners donate to help you with that helicopter ride?
I'm not sure if I do.
Well, we're going to find it. We're going to post it. And we're going to, again, wrap our arms around you because you still got more to tackle, dude. And it's unfortunate. You still got to pay for a helicopter ride. And
and a helicopter ride you don't even remember. I mean, that's no fun. Right?
I know. Yeah, and I was told my flight nurses were not bad looking, so I'm
yeah, there was a story to that, dude, that you had smoking hot flight nurses.
Yeah, Darian's like, me and Caroline are pushing you to this helicopter, and the flight nurses get out and shake their hair, and Caroline and I's jaws hit the ground, and we looked at each other. I'm like, oh gosh, I don't even remember it.
Oh man, that's funny. Funny stuff. Well, just want to thank you for sharing all of this, not just with us, but with the world at large. From the bottom of our heart, like, we love you and care about you, and through this whole journey and this whole process, we've just prayed for the best for you in your recovery and for the best of outcomes. And we know the journey's still not over for you yet, but to be where you're at today is so special, and to have Adam and I to have gone through this Team USA experience with you and to witness firsthand your recovery is so special and so cool. And we just want to thank you and let you know how much we love you and how much this water ski world supports you in all that you do in this journey and this recovery.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
That was powerful, hearing him talk and hearing him tell that story and what all he's gone through, man. That's powerful.
I tell you what, like at Worlds, watching him in the freestyle competition, approaching the jump ramp with a discombobulator ski on, I was just like, how did he do that? Like, to come back.
Everyone's holding their breath for him.
Yes, 100%. And it's just, and to hear the story, I mean, God, he's just a stand-up guy all around. It was just, that's.
He doesn't have PTSD from it because he doesn't remember it. We all do. Like when Nick Wilson had that happen at Worlds practice, we all have instant PTSD from watching Pete having gone through that. And the more I think about it, he is lucky he doesn't. He's grateful for that, actually, that he doesn't remember that.
Yeah, good. I mean, good for him. And I'll tell you what, I'm a firm believer in the power of, I don't know if you want to call it prayer, but when you have that many people wishing you well and thinking about you, and there's something to that, right? There's something to that.
Spirit, the power of that.
Yes, 100%. So
whether or not you believe in God or prayer, there's something bigger at work with all of that magic.
Yep, I'm a firm believer in that for sure.
Yep.
And I think another thing that I learned today is, he said due to the injury, maybe his emotions were blunted and he jumbles his words when he gets excited. So clearly I was dropped on my head when I was a kid.
Yes, you've had that happen. I was thinking that my wife tells me that after I've had too many bourbons.
Yeah.
That I jumble my words together.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep, he's one of us now.
Welcome to the club.
Yep. That's right. Awesome interview. Thank you to Pete. We're going to post his GoFundMe link if we can find it. Thank you to our sponsors today. 3 awesome sponsors: Flyman Skis, custom-made jump skis, and featherboard swivel skis at affordable prices. Get yours at flymanskis.com. The Paul Stokes American Family Insurance Agency. Just get a quote from Paul, and $30 is going to go to your team. Paul wants to be your insurance agent. And the Board Shop. They are ready for summer with all the gear you'd ever want. bswake.com, promo code SHOW15.
And thanks again to all of our listeners and viewers. This is Matt and Adam, and this is The Ski Show.
Thank you for listening to The Ski Show, the ultimate show ski podcast with Matt and Adam. If you have questions or ideas for the show, find us on social media or message us at theskishowpodcast@gmail.com.